Hello everyone, this is George from Invensis Learning. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Initiation is very much required for any process to succeed. Similarly, every project has to start somewhere, whether to solve a business problem or create new prospects. In all fields of life, getting off to a good start can considerably improve your chances of success. So, if you are willing to start a project, and are not aware of how to initiate it or what to do during initiation, then this video is for you guys. So, without much delay, let us start our video. Before that, let us look into the agenda. Initially, we begin with a discussion of the main topic, that is, project initiation. Then we shall see the importance of project initiation. Then, we shall look into the main aspects of project initiation. After that, we shall check into the project initiation process, discuss stakeholder and integration management, and then the project initiation stages. Later, we shall end the session by discussing the challenges faced during project initiation. Now let us start with the main topic of today's discussion, that is, what is project initiation? PMBOK, a book on project management guidelines by the PMI, defines project initiation as the process of formally recognizing that a new project exists or that an existing project should continue into its next phase. Starting with the project intake process, the initiation phase is when your project will begin to reshape, and its reason for existing will be clarified and defined. It is the first phase of a project management life cycle. At this point, the opportunity or reason for the project is identified and a project is developed to take advantage of that opportunity. It includes all of the stages that must be completed before a project can be approved and planning may begin. The idea is to define your project at a high level and connect it to the problem you're trying to solve. As a part of the process, you will assemble a team, define your project from start to end, and work out a strong business case to support it. During this phase of the project, a team is assembled, and a business case is created to define the project in detail. The prospective sponsors of the project evaluate the proposal and, upon approval, provide the necessary financing is also proposed here. Thus, in this phase, the idea for the project is explored and elaborated. The Project Management Institute created the project beginning as part of a conventional 5-phase project management procedure. The PMI is the world's largest non-profit membership organization dedicated to project management in general. They created 5 project management phases, beginning with initiation and ending with planning, execution, performance or monitoring, and project close. Now that we are aware of the term project initiation, we shall now understand the question. Why is project initiation required? The project initiation phase is crucial since it entails hiring a project team and establishing measurable objectives. Without an efficient project team and clear goals, performing the required duties throughout the project cycle gets difficult. That is when project initiation acts as a sign of approval, giving the project manager and team permission to access the resources supplied for the project's successful completion. The project initiation phase defines the project scope. That is the reason why it is considered the most crucial phase in the project life cycle. The main reason to initiate a project process is to understand the work needed to deliver the required products. This is very much required as it decides if the project's existence is required or not. The very next goal of the project initiation stages is to figure out whether or not the project should go on. Finally, the project team must assess all business and project risks, align expectations, lower the level of ambiguity surrounding the project, and decide whether it is worth the effort. Next, the process requires reasonable time investment and determination for you to thoroughly comb through all of its steps and get maximum value before entering the next phase. This is performed in this project initiation phase. Thus, project initiation is very important before starting a project as this phase delivers the idea successfully and relies on a consistent approach to planning and execution. Main aspects of project initiation. Working through your project initiation requires certain key competencies. They are in terms of key areas, goals, project scope, business case, key deliverables, stakeholders, resources, financial analysis, and project charter. A powerful way to focus on it and really dig down on what you need to outline for your project and for one of these 2 documents. These are crucial to the success of any venture. Now let us go through these terms in detail. First in the list we have goals. Every organization starts their project seeking certain terms in their mind, and these terms are called goals. In simple terms, a project goal is a concrete declaration of what the project is supposed to accomplish. It simply refers to achieving the desired outcome at a specific deadline employing a specific amount of resources. Next, project scope. All of the activities, resources and other aspects that will be involved in the execution of a project are referred to as the project scope. Project scope is a complete understanding of all of a project's key elements. It mainly involves determining and documenting a specific set of project goals, deliverables, tasks, costs, and deadlines. Thus, the project scope is treated as the most crucial element of effective project management. Next, business case. A business case justifies the execution of a project, program, or portfolio. It weighs the advantages, disadvantages, costs, and risks of many alternatives before recommending one. Thus, it shows the link between the project outputs and program or corporate strategy outcomes. Coming to the next one, we have key deliverables. In general, key deliverables are those which have been produced as the result of a certain process. In the context of a project, key deliverables are a project deliverable that gives out a specific output element that results from deliberate work done during the project. The project's primary objective, specific features and functionalities, and documentation resulting from the project's processes are all examples of deliverables in project management. Then, we have stakeholders. According to the Project Management Institute, project stakeholders are defined as individuals and organizations who are actively involved in the project, or whose interests may be positively or negatively affected as a result of project execution or successful project completion. In simple terms, stakeholders are those who gain or lose from their project's outcome. Customers, business partners, sellers, sponsors, organizational groups, and functional managers are common stakeholders in any project. Next one in the list is resources. The people, capital, and material products needed to complete a project are referred to as project resources. In basic terms, it is described as anything that is required to accomplish the project. To be accomplished, most projects necessitate a wide range of resources. A person, a team, a tool, cash, and time are all examples of resources. Next, financial analysis. Before you initiate a major project, a proper financial analysis is required, as it is used to determine whether a company is stable, solvent, liquid, or profitable enough to justify a financial investment. As a result, financial analysis can be defined as the process of assessing the performance and suitability of firms, projects, budgets, and other financial operations. At last, we have project charter. A project charter is a formal, brief document that outlines your entire project. It helps in explaining the project in clear, concise wording for high-level management. Thus, it is the statement of scope, objectives, and people participating in a project that serves as a reference document. Now that we've established what project initiation is and why it's so important, let's look at the project initiation checklist's major steps and how effective managers start their projects. Project initiation process. As you guys are already aware that the initiation phase is the beginning of the project. The project's concept is examined and developed during this phase. The purpose of this phase is to assess the project's feasibility. Furthermore, decisions are made about who will carry out the project, which party will participate, and whether the project has a sufficient base of support among those involved. Thus, it involves a huge process. So, let us now discuss them. So, to begin with, you guys are aware that the project lifecycle has 5 phases. With that, there are about 49 processes and 10 knowledge areas. Out of this, 2 knowledge areas, namely, stakeholder management and integration management, come under the initiation phase. Also, each process mentioned here has respective inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. So, let us go through these knowledge areas and the process involved. The first area of knowledge is stakeholder management. The initiation process found here is having a process called identifying stakeholders. It has certain dedicated inputs, tools and techniques and outputs. Let us discuss them now. The first input is project charter. As already discussed, a project charter is a formal, usually short document that outlines your project in detail, including the goals, how it will be carried out, and who will be involved. The next input is business documents. These are documents related to business and its study. It mainly involves business case and business management plans also. Then, we have a project management plan as the next input here. This is required to plan the project management. Continuous management plan and stakeholder management plan are the 2 aspects considered in this input. Then, we have project documents as the next input. It is the process of capturing critical project facts and developing the paperwork needed to properly implement it. Change log, issue log, and requirements documentation are the key aspects of this process. Next, agreements are considered as next process input. A contract between the sponsor and the department specifies the commitments for a portion or the entire project. Then we have enterprise environmental factors as our next input, followed by organizational process assets. So, coming to the end of inputs, let us check tools and techniques. First in the list we have expert judgment. Making a judgment based on ability, competence, or specialized knowledge in a particular area is a strategy used in the project planning process. An individual's expertise can be based on their training or educational background, work experience, or brand knowledge. Next we have data gathering, where the stakeholders gather information required to run the project. Again, questionnaires and surveys, brainstorming is required to do this. After gathering the data, we have to perform analysis, which becomes the next tool or technique. Here analysis of the obtained data is done and both stakeholder and document analysis is performed here. So after analysis, representation is done, data representation is performed, followed by certain meetings. Now we shall go through the outputs. Stakeholder register is considered as the first output. A stakeholder register is a document that lists who is affected by a project and their effect and impact on the project. It is used to ensure that all stakeholders are properly engaged. Then we have change requests as our next output. It is defined as a formal request for an update to some product or system that commonly develops when the client wants an addition or change to the agreed upon deliverables for a project. Then we have project management plan updates as our next output. This includes requirement management plan, continuous management plan, risk management plan, and stakeholder management plan. Then, at the end we have project documents updates. This includes assumption log, issue log, and risk register. The next area of knowledge is integration management. The process performed in the initiating phase is to develop the project charter. Let us now discuss its inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. The inputs part uses business documents, agreements, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets. These things have already been described to you. Next, as a part of tools and techniques, we have expert judgment and data gathering. These are also discussed earlier, but a part of the data gathering method changes. In this process, data gathering considers brainstorming, focus groups, and interviews as their main aspects. The next technique is interpersonal and team skills. Here conflict management, facilitation, and meeting management is mainly considered. In the end, we also have meetings under the tools and techniques list. Now coming to outputs, we have two major outputs in this process. That is a project charter and assumption log. By now, you have an idea of what the project charter is, so let us focus on the assumption log right now. PMI defines assumption log as any project factor that is considered to be true, real, or certain without empirical proof or demonstration. It's actually crucial to remember that every project assumption carries the possibility of failure. Now that you have thoroughly understood the processes, let us go through the stages of project initiation. Obtaining business approval and carrying out the project is the primary goal of the project initiation process. Although, to be honest, there is no magic number of steps you must take in order for the project to be approved. Still, I have framed 6 critical elements that contribute to a successful project conception and initiation. So, now let us have a look at each step and understand them in detail. Create a business case and project scope. A business case should be the first thing to check off your project initiation checklist. It justifies the budget for an initiative and helps sell the project to senior management at your company. The main aim of this particular stage is to comprehend the reasoning behind project initiation. Also, a business case helps to examine whether a project idea is desirable and consider several solutions with a cost-benefit analysis for each. In plain words, the business case is a critical document that explains how the project's objectives align with the company's long-term goals. In addition, this document explains why the company should devote its technical, financial, and human resources to the specific project. Thus, it is considered as the backbone of any project. Performing a feasibility analysis. Once a business case is approved, we have to determine the likelihood of the project's success after considering all the factors. To perform that, a feasibility study is required. This research analyzes the project's high-level restrictions and assumptions and determines whether the endeavor is worthwhile. In a word, the purpose of a feasibility study is to establish whether or not a project has a chance of succeeding. So, let me tell you how to perform a feasibility study. It would be best if you began by formulating project assumptions, establishing high-level limitations, and identifying potential hazards that could hinder or even halt your project's progress. A feasibility study is essentially a better safe than sorry method that will provide you with the necessary assurance to proceed with the project. You get to evaluate all of the existing and missing resources, your capacity and available funds, and how practical the planned time frames are when building the study and executing analysis. You can see the big picture and make sure the project is valuable by investigating possibilities, dangers, and solutions. Develop project charter. As already mentioned earlier, a project charter is one of the vital parts of the project initiation process. It is actually the first document of the project that identifies the required details like the goals and the constraints of the project. It then identifies the project scope and lists the required resources for the completion of the project. The project charter will also help in listing the project team's roles and responsibilities and the project's clients and stakeholders. In addition, the project is now structurally organized, with the project plan documented and all risks, challenges, and assumptions listed. Thus, it outlines the purpose for the project and how it will be structured and executed. If you want to know more about Project Charter, check out the video preset in our YouTube channel. Identifying project stakeholders. Stakeholders are anyone who has a stake in the project, whether they be members of your team, the client, end customers, partners, or others. That is why, a considerable percentage of a project manager's time is frequently spent interacting with stakeholders. In general, stakeholders can be internal or external. Internal stakeholders are the people involved in a project from within. They include a client, project manager, project team, or a portfolio manager. On the other hand, external stakeholders are not directly involved but are engaged from outside and are affected by the project outcome. They include media, government, supplier, or end user. Selecting the right team. Without a project team, no project can begin. Therefore, the project initiation phase begins with the formation of a working project team and the assignment of roles and responsibilities. Assigning roles and responsibilities early on helps you as a manager in the latter stages of the project life cycle by increasing the overall accountability of the entire team. To keep the work flowing smoothly, define each member's function as precisely as possible while forming a project team. Begin by outlining all of a position's responsibilities as well as who the individual in that capacity will report to. A thorough organizational chart can be beneficial. It is easier to fill a position by stating the skills and experience required for that role. It's also a good idea to highlight if any qualifications are required. Of course, there must be a performance criterion, as well as a wage and working circumstances. Final review. After you've completed everything, check over the full project initiation stage again to make sure you didn't miss anything. It is at this point that the project initiation requirements are determined if they have been met. Throughout the project life cycle, though, make sure to review each phase. As monitoring and controlling is one of the 5 phases of the project management life cycle, you'll continue to examine your work in later stages. It's also crucial to review the risks that have been identified and determine whether any have occurred, as well as how they were managed and resolved. Any project will have adjustments, therefore double-check that these changes were made correctly to keep the project on schedule. Only by starting a project correctly can it be completed successfully. By conducting a thorough project initiation phase, you can clearly define scope and assemble a strong team to see the project through to completion. After you've completed the review phase, there will almost always be one final project initiation meeting that will determine whether the project succeeds or fails. After that, you have all the cards you need to close the deal and make the project official with a business case, feasibility study, and project charter on the table. Your project's beginning phase ends here, and the planning phase begins. Now that you are aware of the process and stages included in project initiation, let us now look into challenges faced during project initiation. During the project initiation stage, you may confront a variety of problems. Let us go through them and also understand how to overcome them. Delay in starting your project. Sometimes, gathering all information, defining scope and many other steps would have been completed, but the project wouldn't have started, and this causes delay and becomes one of the challenging aspects of the project. Internal issues and budgets would be the reason for this challenge. To overcome this, you can have a budget discussion and try to afford your proposed budget. Internal concerns with getting the team in place or getting started with a job should be addressed. Again, assist your internal team and management in comprehending the consequences of the project's delay. Multiple phases having same project initiation. One of the most common problems with a large and long-running project is having only one initiation at the start and then never resetting as the project progresses through successive phases. What you determine for one phase may or may not apply to all phases and the duration of your project. To overcome this, at each level, conduct mini kickoffs and double-check that you've completed the project initiation checklist. Stage is moving too slowly. The initiation of a project can take a long time. This is something I've seen a lot, and it can have a big impact on the project later on if you can't meet the promised deadlines. Regular meetings and proper discussions, and thinking about client momentum will help you to solve this challenge. Project initiation, without a doubt, understands the needs of your organization and takes immediate steps to get a project off the ground. To know more about this, you can take project management training courses from us. We have many courses. You can choose upon your requirements. The details are mentioned in the description box below. If you have any queries, drop it in the comments section. Thank you.